Hello, welcome back to Pictures at Bus Stops. We're here to talk about another picture at a bus stop. Not this one. We're going to do the roulette. Spin the wheel, spin the wheel, spin the wheel, spin the wheel. Let's see what comes up. I'm trying not to be selective, so we're just going to stop, talk about this picture. All right, so, I spoke earlier about not wanting to sort of put on blast any particular house or private residence or any individual person, and yet nonetheless, sometimes we do find ourselves out front of an interesting house, we being me, and ourselves being me. And yeah, I have to make hay where there is just sort of road on one side and private residences on the other, the sky above me, the earth below me. And here we have one such instance, and sometimes just the most interesting and peculiar thing to photograph, the most unique view, which I strive to make at every single bus stop, is somebody's home. Yet nonetheless, I'm trying to protect to some extent the anonymity of the people involved, and so no house number, no anything like that. We have a interesting arrangement here. I won't speculate on what's under that tarp. So all the information I have is what you can see and what I can see. This is obviously facing the road in some way. And it is hard to not photograph something like this when you see it. I think photographers can, one of my favorite photographers is Alex Soth. And it was funny, I had a professor in college that I didn't like Alex Soth always at first. I sort of found his photographs distasteful in my in my 19-year-old sensibility of what constituted a good fine art photograph. I thought that Alex Soth didn't have it, which is obviously pretty funny if you know 19-year-olds or if you know Alex Soth. But Alex Soth obviously has it, and I obviously did not as a 19-year-old, is the punchline of that joke. And so, his modus operandi, his way of working is traveling over the country and making just stunningly beautiful photographs with the big old 8x10 camera, and just a dream of sort of the poetic vagaries that he's looking for, the poetic sort of possible arrangements of the world that might fit kind of the general themes that he's trying to photograph. I'm not doing a good job of explaining it, and this obviously would be better if I could show you some of his photographs, but I only have mine to show you right now. And so you'll just have to look him up and spend time looking at better photographs than mine if you're interested in that sort of thing. But my point was that he, excuse me, he writes these lists of objects that he's looking for, like maybe something like a boat under a tarp that's on a lawn or something like that. And I think that does a good job of helping restrain him from visual cliches that might pop up sometimes. And I think landscape photographers and like the photographers that sort of seek out the poetry of the built landscape and the things that people make and leave behind in the world are sometimes attracted to easy tropes. And I'm speaking mostly from experience here. Is like sometimes when you see a sign that's like, easy, sell your house cheap or something, which is funny because I've taken photos like that for this series, but, or a faded road sign. Again, I've taken pictures of faded road signs. Like there's things that you look at them and you think, wow, that is so, that really says a lot. When in fact, like, I think everybody has this experience. It's like an abandoned building. It's like, it's interesting to look at pictures of abandoned buildings. And as a photographer, there's a huge temptation to want to take a lot of pictures of abandoned buildings. And so I think Soth's method of sort of pre-visualizing what he wants to find in the world and then keeping himself set on looking for those things kind of helps narrow his focus a little bit while he's out looking around in the world for things which will carry the meaning when placed in a sequence of finely curated photographs. And so all of that to say is like, this is mysterious to me, this particular photograph that we're looking at here. Like these these flowers have like a funerary quality. That is to say, like there is a quality of memorial to them somehow. Like I think now that we're kind of diving in a little bit closer, these are actually look like LED lights or something, like maybe stick lights. I haven't been by this house, by the way. I haven't been back to this area to see what this could possibly be. And this was like late summer, I think, of last year. And so obviously the house is probably in a much different state. The lawn is in a much different state. So I can't speculate on what's under that tarp or why it's arranged in such a way. I mean, maybe I said I wasn't going to speculate, and here I am. But like, rather than what's under the tarp, maybe the flowers themselves are sort of elevating the look of it a little bit, like almost turning it into a blue hedgerow of some sort, where, you know, rather than like a green, nice holly bush that's been trimmed down to a sort of particular shape, we have this uncertain mass of objects covered up by a tarp and held together by paving bricks. And the flowers sort of help elevate it a little bit beyond just the prosaic qualities of the blue tarp itself. But like, yeah, this is the kind of thing where you just look at it and you're suddenly like, wow, that says a lot. What it says, I'm not sure, but it is saying it loudly. And so I think as I look at this photograph, I think a lot about the exact contours, you know, where the tarp is sort of pinched and where it falls loosely, and how that can begin to be suggestive of a certain shape. Like a tarp over a car is pretty easy to understand what's happening, but like just the fact that this tarp has a lot of things of roughly equal height, and there's obviously some mass underneath this tarp it's just fascinating. And so, yeah, I truly cannot tell you what's underneath that, and don't care to try to imagine. But that is sort of obviously the main focal point of this image. And the other thing that my eye has been landing on the whole time I've been talking is this kind of coincidence of line between the top of the cloud and this wire. Like somehow just the eye motion of down, up, over is really strong. That I guess power line. It's actually, yeah, I learned about this. It's so this is where the power enters the house. I think this was in N.E. Austin. He talked about it in one of his videos about the power grid in Liberty City. But yeah, the power line comes in. So this little wire right here is just structural, and then the actual power for the house kind of loops in and comes down, comes up into this little socket where it's sealed from the elements, and then drops down. And then there's, I think that's actually the meter, the very edge of the meter box right there, and then that measures the power usage for the whole house. So in any case, that's sort of the other thing that my eye jumps to. This has been edited somewhat. I think I finagled a lot of this texture into the, or rather the color into the grass, sort of making it appear a bit browned and faded. And there's a bit of a contrast, I guess, between the faded orange-brown of the grass and then the lighter green of the trees right there. So this has been finessed into the state that it's in. So yes, this has been Bus Stops. Thank you for listening.